Hi everyone. What I want to share with you today is about deep cleaning my home and decluttering. Before I begin, I just want to share a brief message for the youth that know me locally. If any of what I have to say concerns you, or you want to sit down with your parents or guardians and talk to me about this video, please let me know, or have your parent and guardian speak to me. I'm glad to talk to you. I'm very grateful how each of you welcomed me into your life. Why I'm making this video is to help those who are in wheelchairs and those who have a physical disability work through deep cleaning their living space. I'm going to be making a second video about this around the end of this year, but I felt it was important to put some tips out there to help those of you who do need this to find out what's working for me and the help that I'm receiving. I actually want to start this video by sharing some of the journey that I'm on. The deep cleaning that's going on in my home right now stems back to 2009. I had an operation in June that year. Both of my hip joints were rebuilt, and I did not recover. It utterly backfired and is what was the end result of me needing a wheelchair. Thankfully, some really kind friends I have in Ottawa took care of me for about 3.5 months, and a local family also took care of me for another about 10 weeks while I got my application in to disability and lined up the in-home care I would need to return to living at home. When I arrived home, it was like a whirlwind. I had several doctor's appointments during the next year, and ultimately leading up to me being offered hip replacement surgery. The surgery didn't resolve my mobility issues, and I continued to rely on a power wheelchair while we continue to work towards a resolution. There's a lot more to this. Why I'm saying this brief summary is that the long and short of it is that at the very start, cleaning wasn't at the top of my to-do list. Taking care of my health and just sustaining day-to-day life really was all that I could do. The effect of pain on my body was really heavily and continues to limit my ability of what I can do each day. The long and short of it is to say my stuff ended up in boxes and has sat there for several years. Thankfully, some high school aged youth are helping me through this year to deep clean my home, letting me go through virtually everything and figure out what fits in my life now and what I no longer need. So there's a few tips that I want to share with you from what I've gone through so far to help you figure out how to do this for yourself. The very first one is to acknowledge your limits. I tried for several months before asking for help to do this myself. It just was not working, and it was obvious that I was not going to be able to get this done. I needed to reach out to someone for help to make it happen. So there's part of this process that's about being vulnerable and welcoming someone into your life, and let's say the inner circle of your life, while you work through the deep cleaning. There's lots of people in my life locally that care and are genuinely interested in helping, but for what's wrong with my body, there's not a lot that they can do to help. So when I spoke up about needing help with the cleaning, they were all the happy to help me and are following through with the commitment. So part of what's going to be on your to-do list is going to be about you reaching out to friends you know, or otherwise to churches that are in the area, or other social connections you may have, and ask for the help that you genuinely need. Now, the balance in this is not turning your life upside down while you're going through the process. So what's working well for me is once a week for about 2 hours with someone here, and then leaving a few boxes in the area that I can reach, so between my lap and sort of this height, that I can work through on my own before some more help comes for me. Because otherwise I get too tired out, and it's helpful, but leaving me in a weakened state, it's not practical. So you need to be able to articulate your limits. Immediately, I found myself in the situation of going through stuff that I had years ago, and the memories did come back, like for example of a quilt my grandmother and I made when I was 7 years old. The reality is that it had been in a box for the past 6 years. It's obvious something that I wasn't needing in my life now. The memory of my grandmother and I working on this is still there. But you do need to be decisive on what you're keeping and what you're going to either donate or put in the garbage. It may be helpful for you to have someone to go to for emotional support while you're going through this process. And that's really why I share the story of my grandmother and the quilt that I donated. The next sort of topic that I'm finding helpful is focusing on one room at a time. And this seems for me to be how to manage my day-to-day life without turning everything upside down on me. So we're doing one room at a time, and there was only one big change that I wanted to put into place before then. I don't sleep well because of the pain that I experience. And so switching my bed from a window that was southern exposure to one that was off to the east, so the light was coming in this way, has helped improve my sleep a little bit. The better you sleep, the lower the pain goes that is specifically addressed to broken sleep. It also makes dealing with emotional issues a whole lot easier. I encourage you to do what you can to make sure you do take care of your health while you're going through this journey, so it won't be hard on you. The part of the journey that's been helpful to me is being able to donate what I don't need that can still be used by someone to a secondhand store. So where I live, there's one that's about a kilometer or 2/3 of a mile just east of my home. It's great that some of the stuff will be able to be used by someone else who can't afford it. So I would suggest to you that you have a garbage bag, a donation box, and maybe a keeping box. Why I suggest putting keeping stuff in a box is so that when you're done the deep cleaning, you can go through and do a layout that's important, that will work for you. So I rely on a wheelchair, and unfortunately I often need to use it for around my home. I can only take a few steps at a time. So you need to work out a layout in your house that's going to work if you're needing a wheelchair, a scooter, a walker, a cane, or crutches to get around your home. An open plan layout and having a minimal amount of stuff is what will help you make the best quality of life. It will also help you feel a lot less tired with all the stuff that's been around you. It won't be on your proverbial to-do list once it's been taken care of. And you can either have people into your home, or as relationships build, there'll be natural opportunities to come invite someone over, and you won't be feeling bad that the house is a mess. I'm somewhere in the middle of this. And what I mean by this is I try to take care of the house as best as practical. And I've had people here and they understand. And I'm really happy to be able to get through a lot more stuff this year and get rid of what no longer fits in my life. I have found that you need to be very decisive on what you're keeping and why you're keeping it, and not having stuff just for the sake of stuff and possessions. If you're not using the stuff for months and months or years at a time, you probably don't need it anymore. It's kind of the reality of it. And if it's going to help improve your quality of life, and it's going to make house cleaning easier, I think it's a valid reason to pursue the cleaning up. So scheduling people and then having a realistic idea of what you're going to work through when they're here is important. The aspect of taking part is also important. I don't think this is a task that you can just have someone go at. Even if you physically can't do it yourself, giving directions may be your means of taking part. Now, I'm not by any means a hoarder. This is just that it's built up over a few years, and I'm thankful to be able to get through the deep cleaning. If there's bigger issues at play, then I encourage you to be honest with yourself and ask your family doctor to help you to connect with a service that will help you work out your issues in a supportive environment so you won't go back to certain behaviors. In other words, you want to have the stuff that you need for life and you enjoy, but you don't want stuff to own you and really limit your quality of life. The few other things I want to talk about are thinking of an effective layout for your furniture. So with the wheelchair, having as little furniture as possible and having the house as open as possible is really important. In other words, the wheelchair is a certain width wide. I want to make sure that I've got lots of space to get around my home, and it involves a completely different layout of my house to accomplish this. it was actually a great feeling being able to donate so much stuff and starting to see the space free up in my home. And I genuinely appreciate the help that I've received. There's a number of people that have stepped up in the past few weeks to help me out. And this is just from connections that I've made in the community. Either people helping me or people knowing people to help me. And I'm sure even if you're by yourself a lot, perhaps some of the social support that you have could work with you to work out a plan for this to happen for you. I can see that it's needed for myself, and I certainly also want you to have the best quality of life that's possible. So this is sort of the preliminary video that I wanted to make about this, to share some tips of how I'm managing with this. And I will make a second video at the end of this year showing the end product. And I know it's going to be really helpful to me. Thanks for this time that you spent with me today. I really appreciate it. Bye for now.